Hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How has your week been? There we go. Hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? Live on YouTube. Wonderful. Sorted. Hello. Hello, Jim. How you doing, man? How's things? How has your and everyone else's week been? How you doing? Ooh. It's been another week, if anyone was wondering. And when I say another week, I mean in the dramatic sense of the word. um, Nice. Looks like class. Fun. I'm holding up little 3D prints, or I'm holding little 3D prints, because I can't stop myself and I've designed another tool. um, Oops. It's the tool that I've been showing off the last week or two, but I've made some more progress. I used the Easter weekend actually to do a whole bunch of especially software development, but I finalized the PCBs. They're on their way, or at least they're being made and will be on their way. I think I'll have them by the end of next week, which is pretty sweet. Um, Amazing, the amazing JLC PCB, as always. And I'm currently working on the hardware, like the 3D models front. So this was the first iteration of the case. You can see some bits didn't fit. It actually failed to print halfway through, so this isn't where it's meant to end, but where it does end. There's quite a few sort of deformities and stuff. You can see that's not meant to be such a rounded edge. It's sort of squished over and whatnot. But yeah, this didn't quite fit, so I've printed some more stuff, and I've got the linear motors, and it's so tiny. Look at it. This is the one that I was using before for context. This is the one I'm using. This is the one I bought initially. So tiny. And I just made this one fit in here, so I'm quite happy about that. Hello, Richard, and hello. Yeah, another user. I don't know why I struggle to say like pronounce various people's names, not because it's impossible to pronounce them, but because I'm an idiot and tense up on camera and get it wrong. What am I showing off there? No, I'm showing off linear actuators. So I don't have the power supply on my desk right now, but basically this is a linear actuator. So when you apply power to these wires, this bit extends outwards. And that's because I'm building a keyboard testing tool where basically this sits up here, and as this extends, it pushes down on the key switch. If I do it that way, pushes down on the key switch as that, draws out. And then there is a little force sensor, which I've got on my breadboard here. A little tiny little force sensor. I've put a little 3D printed dome on it, but basically this is just a pressure sensing resistor. So as you squeeze that, the resistance between those two pins change. And yeah, magic. Andy, what is the wireless doorbell you have that doesn't need a battery in the button? It's linked in the video description. It's a TechNet one. Yeah, it's just an inductive RF. Like there are quite a few batteryless RF remotes and things like that. That one is specifically a wireless doorbell. It's not very well weatherproofed, so I don't really know why, but that's what it's sold as, and it was like 15 quid, so who cares? And yeah, I put the little Zigbee board in it. that looks kind of like that, but not actually like that one. This is an NRF 50. I can never NRF 52840, which I blew up because I'm an idiot. Uh, uh, don't worry, don't bother trying to pronounce my name. It's hard for English people to say. Say it. You can call me Yeti. Nice. Might I say you look much better than the last time I saw you. Good to see. Well, I'm currently on steroids that are keeping me alive. Not actually, but kind of close. In fact, I'm on these. That's prednisolone. Um, uh, so yes, although this is also week 3 of like living with peak anxiety. Like this is anxious energy you're seeing, and there will be a crash later. The reason for the anxiety is oh, hello Chris. Uh, Good to have you for the 3 seconds you're here. That the treatments that I'm yet to discuss fully publicly. I was meant to start some injections at the start of this month. Like I had an appointment at the end of last month that basically was the key for me to get to these injections. Then my GP said, "Oh no, the specialist has to be the one to start you on them." So I went back to the specialist and said, "Okay, can you start me on them?" And they quoted me £707 for an injection that should cost 200. Ha ha ha. So I went to my local pharmacy and they said, "We can do those injections. It'll be like 300 because, you know, we've got to put a margin on the medicines, whatever, but like, fine, that's £400 less than I was going to be charged. Go for it." Except I need to get the specialist to write the prescription for me to give to my local pharmacy. The problem is that the secretary of the specialist went on holiday for an entire week without telling anyone, including me, who she was actively corresponding with via email at the point where she went on holiday, and she didn't set like an out of office message or anything. So that was great. And then when I finally called up, I found out she was on holiday, so that was great. And then I had to wait until after Easter weekend, where she then emailed back saying, "The specialist is now on holiday for this week. I won't find out until next week if that's even possible, let alone actually get the injections. It's going to take 2 or 3 days to the local pharmacy to get the injection, like get the medicines before they can inject me. So absolute best case, I'll have it. I will have been injected by the end of next week, but that is absolute best case, and I am spiraling." So yeah, I'm doing good. Oh, Essentialist, how are you? Um, anyway, back to my prints. Um, so I've this is the cute tiny little linear actuators, the tiny little ones. This is where the PCB sits. So this goes in like so. You have the lid for it, which should nicely sort of click in. If there wasn't a bit of breakage from printing it badly. I also might need a bit more clearance there because that looks like it's... Oh, maybe that's a layer line actually that's popped up. Might explain it. Anyway, so these wires go in the little holes there, and then the reason that this is a little like clam shaped looking thing is that this is a half height or like a quarter height version because I didn't want to waste resin, but basically that slides on like that, so that you can lift the whole thing up and down. There's a bit of clearance there, so that it's not too tight. And then I have this tiny little screw. Is it going to focus? Is it going to even show you? So I've put knurling on here, so there's a bit of grip, and it's a tiny little screw. How cute is that? And that should, in theory, I haven't actually screwed this in yet, so I don't know if it's going to work. That should be able... Come on, please. 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 Huh? Huh? Oh, that God, that's tight. Stop it. I might have got the tolerances wrong. Or the print directions wrong. Like, is it non-square? Oh. Yeah, that's crunchy. Damn. Well, in theory, this should screw in the side like this, and then basically like lock this in place. Come on. I work out the tolerances once I get the proper parts. No! It fell on the ground. Good to see your medical system's as good as ours. Yes, I know. Well, I would say, where's it gone? It's only for some types of healthcare, generally speaking, that you run into more issues with some types of healthcare than others. As someone who has been through the entire healthcare system in many for many reasons, I can tell you that some types of healthcare get slightly, not much, but slightly better experiences than this. Well, it's almost there. Oh. Good job we have the socialist communist NHS. Well, the problem for me is that the wait time for the socialist communist NHS for this treatment in particular was like 3 years. Didn't fancy waiting that long. There we go. So, screw in there. Screw. You've got an option. Screw it in either side. That's the base plate that goes under the keyboard. Doesn't matter. Point is, still test prints anyway. You unscrew it a bit, and then that's you're free to move it up and down. This will be a lot longer in the final one, and then you can tighten it down, and that locks it in place. And there's no play. Beautiful. Oh God, that was effort. So yeah, I had to go private for that bit, and my GP refusing is bureaucracy that drives me mad. But hey, oh, you're an airport, right? I forgot what you were doing. There are 36 D gates here, only 3 flights from Terminal D. So the 3 gates they're using are 32, 34, and 35. Might accidentally go to Toronto, I don't know. Well, best of luck. I'll stop playing with my prints now. Although I'm very pleased that that's working. Oh, and also I didn't actually say it started my leukemia for free. Wonderful. I'm glad. I'm very grateful to have the NHS for all of my usual medical problems. I'm going in for another infusion on Monday. So yeah, I can't imagine how much that would cost privately. But very, very grateful. And at some point I'll be able to transfer my care of this particular area back to the NHS, and I'll be quite happy about that. Sadly alive. Mood. So yes, new tool in the works. I have some PCBs on the way. I'm working out the 3D prints. I've actually one of the sort of like calibration and testing designs that I have is for my digital calipers. Get them out and I can show you them. My digital calipers. Basically, I need to be able to like very accurately measure how much the actuator is moving. So the plan is basically I've got a 3D print that's actually finished on the printer. I just need to take it off and clean it. But it basically grips the calipers here, so the calipers sit in it, and that grips it there. And then the actuator is placed here, and then basically as the actuator moves out, it will change the reading on the calipers. And then I can very accurately measure without having to hold it and mess it up and stuff. How accurate this is. And can do like individual board calibrations potentially. I've set that up in firmware as an option. I've been writing a lot of the software in firmware over the weekend, so yeah. I haven't got to the results part yet because I haven't really got to the test parts yet, but I'll make all the test parts work, and then once I get some data, I can then display the data in useful ways. But I've got to make it work first. Hello, Simon. How you doing? How's things? British Simon. We haven't seen Australian Simon yet, actually. Then again, I'm surprised that any Australians turn up to this. This is a horrible time for Australians to be watching a live stream. When I get back, I'm going to sit down and work out how far I've driven in the last 5 days. Definitely over 1,000 kilometers in the 35 to 40 mpg Mitsubishi plug-in hybrid. Nice. It's like 5 a.m. in some parts over there. Yeah, I would not be up at that time. I mean, I'm very much a night owl, so I might be up at that time because I hadn't gone to bed yet, but I probably wouldn't last, I don't know. Oh dear. Yeah. How's everybody doing? I feel like I'm going mad, but also when aren't I? Um, I got the new Sportage recently, 1.6 litre motor with 170 horsepower, and was a little underwhelmed with the performance. The Kia Sportage is the SUV, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, the problem with SUVs and 170 horsepower is 170 horsepower already isn't a whole lot of power. Like, it's fine if it's a light car. But a big SUV is probably not a very light car, is it? So yeah. The Blackwell launch has really made me appreciate my 4090. I see where you're coming from, yeah. I mean, I bought a 4060 Ti for like 240, was it? Yeah. Um, to replace, well, the 3090 that didn't really work out, and the 3070 I was using before that, and the 3060 I was using before that. So, and I'm very happy with it. I've actually been playing a few games, including the original Watch Dogs, because Essentialist mentioned it in Discord, and now I have to finish it. Um, and a variety of others. What did I played a few demos actually. So I'm in the military incremental complex demo with an auto clicker. Very fun. Have I played that? Apparently I did. Don't remember playing it. Oh, an instruction. That was fun. Also auto clicker. V70R has its MOT tomorrow. Really hope it passes. I've missed driving it a lot. Best of luck. My MOTs, well, our household's MOTs are in June, so not too long. No idea what was that bad. I wasn't thrashing it, driving it everywhere. 80 to 110 kilometers cruise control. Do you guys do pre-MOT checks? I'm gonna try to. It kind of varies how worried I am with how much I'll pre-check. So like for my wife's car, which I care more about passing because she needs it basically every day or every other day. So I'll probably like jack it up, have a quick look, make sure that everything looks all right, you know, check the bushings, check the suspension, check the well, you can check the brakes from the outside. I do that somewhat regularly anyway. I think we got new tires on it. We got new tires on it, didn't we? Really hope we got new tires on it. Yes, we did. So tires shouldn't be a problem. I know that the headlights, all the lights are working. Should be fine. Oh, and it fixed the airbag light. Oh, sorry. Um, so yes, yes, I do. But for my car, generally not really. I mean, I have a quick look around, make sure everything looks all right, but I I I know my car relatively well. I check it out quite regularly. Like I replaced the brake pads, the rear brake pads, a couple weekends ago, because from the outside they looked a little on the low side. Turns out they had about half the meat left, so that's how preventative I often am in some maintenance aspects. Um, so yeah, yeah. I knew the Volvo wouldn't pass without a new ABS control module, so it's been out of tests since early February, waiting to find one for a sensible price. Ah, fair. Um, I'm lucky to have a mechanic I know. He does the MOT, so they check and fix before doing the MOT. Nice, fair enough. Um, I I find it funny people. I've seen a few car listings where people have listed like 98% MOT pass rate or whatever, and it's funny because like as a buyer of the car, I actually prefer to see it fail on the MOT for various things so that I know that those things have been done because it's basically like a free service history. Like, oh no, it failed on some ball joints in 2012 and then, 2 days later it passed with no ball joint failures. It's had the ball joints replaced. And me and my friend have been looking at MX-5s far too often because he drives a death trap. Well, it's not a death trap, it's just it fails. Um, and the fun thing with looking at MX-5's MOT histories is to see at what point did the comments about rust start and which garages picked up on it having rust because MX-5 equals rust. Like there is no MX-5 on earth that's especially an NA, NB, and some NCs all have rust problems. That's first, second, and third gen, by the way. But it uh it's quite funny to look at the MOT history of basically any uh 90s and early 2000s MX-5 and just see when the rust starts, who's missed out on checking for it. um Because the thing about it not being there isn't that there's no rust. It's not that it's been repaired. It's that the MOT checker didn't care to look. Ugh. I think I've needed new discs and pads on the last car. Current car isn't due until October. Okay. Soon, soon, indeed. Uh, and Yeti. That feels really insulting to call you Yeti. Not of my own accord. A Honda pun. My wife insisted that she wanted that, and I made her pay for it, and I'm driving it now. Nice. For the same money, I would have preferred the Stinger. Yeah, yeah. I do like the look of the Stinger. I mean, I agree. I haven't seen recent models actually, so I'll refrain from commenting too hard. But I know at least the first gen Stinger I like the look of. Our Iveco Daily 2013 is starting to rust. Oh, that's have 400k miles on it though. On one engine? Is the Iveco Daily a van or a truck? Because if it's a van, 400k, especially on one engine, would be very impressive. If it's a truck, eh, I'm pretty sure it's a van. That's why I was impressed. But then it occurred to me that I might be uh, um, misremembering. But original engine, big van. Wow. 2 liter diesel? I have to assume, because there's no way that a petrol engine survived 400,000 miles. I think Essentialist called me Yeti once, and I like the sound of it. Okay, I will attempt to remember Yeti and not feel weird about it. 2.3 turbo diesel makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Diesels. I mean, for those who don't know, the reason that diesel engines tend to last longer is A, they run cooler, which is a pro and a con. A pro because you're not heat cycling the metals as hard. You're not heat cycling the rubbers as hard. Like it just generally lasts longer because you're not heat cycling as hard. The downside is that they don't warm up. You have to be halfway down the M1 um, to get it to actually be up to temperature. But um, the other thing is that diesels, because they have higher compression ratios, because the way that diesel combustion works is not by a spark plug like petrol. You have a much higher compression ratio, so the piston gets a lot closer to the top. Um, the volume of air and fuel gets compressed to the point where it self ignites, and that's what detonates. That's what pushes the piston back down again. Whereas petrol, you do not want it to self detonate because then it will blow up the engine. Um, that's how you get rods going into the sky. So you get a lot less compression and use a spark plug to time the detonation perfectly. Um, that's also why diesels all have direct injection at really high pressures, whereas only some petrol cars have direct injection, a la mine. Although technically it can be lower pressure because the cylinder pressure is just generally lower. But yeah, also I was going to say most diesels are timing chains, which are generally more reliable, but the 1.9 and 2.0 TDI from VAG or VW Audi Group does indeed have a belt. I know because I've done that job 1.5 times. It has a DPF as well, the original DPF. Wow, that is mighty impressive. DPF is a diesel particulate filter, and the reason that it's so impressive that it has the original DPF is that during diesel combustion you often get what you call it more carbon deposits and soot and black smoke, basically unburned fuel, etc. That basically clogs up the DPF because it's basically a fine mesh, and you get if it clogs up, the engine can't breathe, and then it won't start, and then it really sucks, or I suppose doesn't suck. Uh, so what you need to do is you need to run it often and hot and heavy, basically, so that the DPF burns out all of the soot that's in there. That's often called a DPF regen or DPF regeneration. And yeah, it's kind of amazing that a van has managed to run long enough and not just idle as well, because idling kills diesels. It's when you actually like use the engine, that's when it's fine. Um, yeah, yeah, that's wild. Uh, and yeah, T. Unfortunately, I'm off on my night shift. Good talking to you guys. Cheers, everyone. P.S. If it's not harder, you can call me John, if that as that's my second name. Uh, and remain. Fair enough. We do already have a John who's not here, which is also an the anglicized version of uh his Croatian name. Um, but yeah, it's up to you. Anyway, have a as good a night shift as you can. um, if it doesn't manually burn off, then it increases fuel to heat the exhaust gases up. Yeah, so that's what the regeneration process on BMWs and Audis and Mercedes are often doing. They heat up the cylinders. They normally, like, especially with, I know the exact criteria for BMWs because we work on a BMW diesel quite a lot. But the exact criteria is up to operating temperature, over half a tank of fuel, and you have to remain at a relatively constant, relatively high. Like basically, you have to be on the motorway for 30 minutes for it to start and complete a DPF regen. And it's basically recommended that you do that pretty often, like once a week, ideally, to for it to keep clean. Like it does it automatically as long as you meet those conditions. But yeah, you want to make sure that you meet those conditions, keep the engine healthy, or keep the DPF clean. Oh damn. Oh, it's JCA, not JCB. Right, got it. I got a notification for 2 monitors that are coming tomorrow. Um, but they're coming with, even though I think they're coming from the same place, they appear to have been coming with two different couriers. Yeah. Uh, have fun, Chris. I don't know. Is that same up here? No, no rain here. No rain here. I have no idea why I haven't had a block DPF yet. It may be the heavy foot. That might help. Do you do a lot of motorway driving in it, or does it idle a lot? Because if it idles a lot, I have no idea how you haven't killed it. My Mazda 6 2.2D had one mood, and it was DPF inspection required. Yeah. The van mostly does long trips. I idle my car a lot, but it also does long trips every few weeks. Well, that will probably do it. Yeah, I did 80 miles a day. Jesus, that should not be a concern for your DPF, bro. No. What was I gonna say? Oh, Intel asked if I wanted to test their new, basically overclocked feature for the Core Ultra series. I don't know if anyone's seen this, but they basically have a new feature called Boost, or Core Ultra 200S Boost. Anyway, basically it's just an auto overclock feature that's yeah, you update your BIOS and you enable Boost. The key thing though is that Boost overclocks the processor and gives you warranted support, not only for overclocking the processor in that mode, but also up to 8,000 mega transfer per second RAM. I don't know if that includes that requires it to be clocked, like CU DIMMs or not, but yeah, they emailed me asking if I want to want to test it out and what can they do to help. and I do still have the two 65K, the i7, the U7, um, and an board. Although the board that I have, the tough Z890 Pro Wi-Fi, I think, isn't in the supported list yet, or at least wasn't on the supported list on Intel's site, so I'm not sure. Probably has the feature already, but there you go. But I don't have any 8,000 mega transfer per second RAM. I did ask Corsair for some back when those chips were launching, and they said that they would send me some, but they never did. So Intel may or may not be getting me some nice RAM, and I did ask if they have the i5 or U5 to 45K available to see as well. So see what they say. Haven't heard anything back though. Seen that still doesn't beat AMD though. I mean, especially with the nice 9800X3D, nothing can. Like I think it will be interesting to see if it beats the 14th gen. You know, 14.6, 14.7, 14.9. But yeah, I mean, it's essentially a free and warranted overclock mode for your processor. So if you did buy a Core Ultra 200 series, I mean, free performance at the cost of probably more power, but still. So yeah, I haven't tested it yet, so I haven't seen, but well, hopefully we will see. It's nice that they're allowing it with warranty. Yeah, that's the thing that like makes me okay with it, if that makes sense. Like there have been plenty of sort of cheater overclock modes in various BIOSes and stuff over the years. ASUS being multi-core enhancement being the most infamous one, but the the fact that this is from Intel and covered under warranty, including for faster RAM as well, that's pretty nice. It was apparently bad injectors causing poor combustion and increased particulate buildup. I mean, fair enough. Dirty injections and injectors on diesels are rough. Just saw US Air Force Lockheed C-130T Herc land here. Nice. My uncle used to be a loadmaster, the RAF for the, and so we went to a loadmaster on the C-130 Herc, and so I've been to quite a few of the like family days, and I, I was hung out the back of a C-130 with a harness on, as like a, I don't know, 6 or 7 year old. Like I was put in a harness. They strapped a strap to my back, and then because they open the doors mid-flight, so you're flying around a couple thousand feet over the English countryside, and and then they pull the netting away like to one side and just push you out onto the ramp that's down, and you just toddle along, and you go, oh look, the ground, 1,000 feet down there, and then you walk back in. Also have been in the cockpit of them, including while landing, and then we also did a flight sim, and I might have crashed the flight sim twice while trying to land. Admittedly, I was like 7 or 8, but I did an okay job on the you know the flying part. It was just the landing that was the problem. Can you even hear anything with the door open, or just feel vibrations everywhere through your body? Uh, I am thinking back literally 20 years at this point, which is a worrying thought because I don't feel 28. I still feel like 15 or 18, you know. Um, but anyway, uh, It was definitely loud. I might have had earplugs in actually. Um, yeah, quad turboprop engines are already loud, and then you know the the back gates go down, and there's a lot of wind noise. Um, yeah, 20 years ago, I started my current job. Damn. I mean, yeah, 20 years ago, I was 8. Uh, I was in the middle of primary school. Not to make you feel old or anything, but. Nice. I'm having to take a more active role in reminding myself that I am disabled and cannot do all of the things that I have the energy and will to do. Or I can with consequences. Um, so I'm definitely getting the OD experience early, you know. Actually, speaking of the NHS, I did call up the rheumatology department and ask, where I am in the queue because I was initially referred last September by the pain management clinic. Turns out that they'd lost the first letter, so the second letter that the pain management clinic sent was the one that they actually registered as my referral, and therefore I won't be seen for another 2 months. That's for my the arthritis at the base of my spine. I have a collapsed disc back there. That's real fun, real nice. Yeah. I started to stop mid journey now as well. I could drive for hours just a few years ago. I've always had a thimble for a bladder, so that's never been an option for me. But fair enough. Um, I can understand how losing that would be a problem. Um, Chris, how are you? 21 or 22? Yeah, 21. All right. God, yeah, baby. Um, Glad you can laugh at the madness of it. Are you sure you wouldn't rather be bankrupt, homeless, and but partially treated? I already am. I already am the last one. So no, I'm good with not being the first two. Considering that I just bought those. I say just. It's been 7 months. Yeah, yeah. I've done the structural repair. We're actually doing the last of the structural repair, at least upstairs, the crack stitching, hopefully this weekend. That's just chiseling all the plaster off the wall, chiseling mortar out of the gaps, putting stainless steel ties in, and then filling it with cementitious grout and filling the whole thing in afterwards, and then putting plaster back up. Although the plaster might actually be the following weekend, not this weekend. Is your solar array going on the roof? At some point, I would like it to, but not right now. Right now, I say right now. In autumn, I'm going to build another shed, a good one this time, that will have space for a fourth panel on the roof. So there'll be four 400-ish watt panels up there. Yeah, instead. Um, nope. I love it when my brain goes blank. Entirely blank. Hmm. I mean, in some fun news, I have a really cool Sony monitor in. Arguably the best monitor I've actually had in. Um, I have another video essay coming out next week. Well, yeah, a lot of people. Hello, John. Bye, John. Um, a lot of people didn't know Sony did monitors either. They started doing in-zone monitors. Initially, uh, for Pars Plus, Pars Plus, under like PlayStation branding, but they then moved away, and they're now just making really nice monitors. So I got the first one in, and hopefully I will be getting a second one soon. TM. Um, so yeah. Um, have you seen the new Alienware A51 PC? I haven't. Alienware A51. Um, I mean, yeah, Sony do quite a lot, to be honest. Um, I mean, they're using what looks like a normal looking motherboard, which is nice. A bit weird placement for stuff, actually. And it is a 12VO one, but still. Um, where is the... I'm trying to just see some inside pictures, but I'm making that difficult. The GPU sag bracket is insane. I mean, it looks kind of cool because it bolts into the GPU at the back, right? And then it bolts into the back of the case. And it looks like it's sort of slidable so that you can have it move forward and backwards for various sizes. So that's kind of cool. I like it. All positive pressure intake as well. I mean, nice. I mean, it looks pretty cool. I don't know that is like the fact that it's a 12VO, 12 only power supply. I don't know. The fact that the motherboard, at least in the sample picture, only has 2 random slots. E. Um. So this motherboard only have to. Yeah, it only has 2 random slots. So that's yeah. Oh no, Samsung makes literally everything on Earth. Cars, ships, ports, fridges, everything. Um, yeah. Yeah, if you change your motherboard, you'd also need a new power supply. Yeah. But at least it looks like you could, well, and the other problem is it's Intel, isn't it? Yeah, so it's a Core Ultra 265 or 285K, which sounds good on paper. Well, it doesn't really. But at best, you'll get one more generation of chips on that motherboard before it's worthless as for an upgrade path. I mean, um, and then starting at £4,000, that can't be right. That can't be how much that costs. No, no, no. 5090 as an upgrade to a 5080 is £1,200. That cannot be right. That cannot be how much that costs. Where's fucking graphics cards? Nvidia graphics cards. Right, a 5080 costs £1,200 to £1,500. A 5090 costs, holy shit, that's how much it costs. Jesus Christ. Why? That is just ridiculous. Also, every single 5090 is sold out at Fockers, which is horrifying. Oh god, that is ridiculous. Wow. I don't know anyone with a modern Sony TV, despite them probably still being the best phones as well. I know no one else that has one. Yeah. Is it cheaper than liver? Liver is $5,000 in the black market, or one US green card. I was watching the new Secret Shopper LTT vid the other day. There were multiple vendors who recommended they don't buy anything because of the GP shit show going on. I mean, at least that's honest. Like, fair play. Fair play. Also, like, if it's that expensive here, God, imagine what it's like in the States right now. Or what it will be like in a couple of months once the landed stock dries up. Did anyone watch the Gamers Nexus 3-hour video essay interview thing? It's ridiculous. In a impressive, like ridiculously impressive. Just to clarify. That's the sort of like actual useful journalism that the tech industry just has literally never really had. um, like, yeah, and it's amazing that the situation is that bad that like Height was willing to go on record about like their profit margins for their a couple of their products. Like, that's the sort of stuff that you just do not make public unless it's dire. So yeah, wow. Also, as an interesting note, Height was only making $5 per case in profit. Like after the ROI, like after the cost to build and the cost, like the setup cost, amortized over across their expected unit count. Like they're making $5 per unit, which is insane, you know. Because retail takes 25% of the sale price, which was $32. So retail was making, what was it, 5x, 6x more money than the manufacturer was in that case. Like, what's interesting is that for some parts, for some component classes and things, like cases are something that the retailers expect to make a decent margin on, especially because like it takes up a lot of inventory space, it's heavy to ship, so they've got more costs to cover. Whereas something like a CPU, there's generally, those are razor thin margins by comparison because it's Intel that's making the money there basically. But yeah, for stuff like those cases, it's just not viable, which is insane. My business takes 30% profit from every job. I mean, nice. That's healthy. I am more of a service-based business than anything, so I don't really have a profit percentage because it's just my time and effort. But so. EVGA moved away from GPUs to focus on PSUs in cases with higher margins. Yeah, well, I think so. Height was specifically selling their cases at very competitive prices to be able to uh, make higher margins, make entry into the market, whereas something like EVGA might be able to price a little bit more aggressively in terms of their profit margin to make a bit more money. But yeah, there's also the complexity and cost because like to build a power supply, especially if you're essentially taking someone else's power supply design and then like putting a badge on it, whatever, is a lot less work than designing an entire GPU and software that goes with it and VBIOSes and all that sort of stuff. And obviously cases, it just yeah. Catch you later, Chris. Safe travels. Yeah, they're still a new business, kind of makes sense, but still. Yeah, they were pricing competitively to gain market share. And then once you get market share, you can then fatten the stacks a bit, Um, but yeah. So yeah, if you haven't seen that video, definitely recommend you stick it on, even in the background while you're doing other stuff, because it's mostly just listening to the interviews, basically. But yeah, great video. Highly recommend it. I like cases as well. I'm just too lazy to swap components. I feel like a case isn't something that you swap out unless you really unless there's an active problem with your current one. Like, sure, for your next build you might go with something else, but you don't really unless you're a YouTuber. I can't imagine people upgrading their case. You know? Like maybe if you're buying a bunch of components, you might essentially build a new PC with some of the bits from your old one. But I cannot imagine just buying a case on its own and not then putting anything else. And then just like taking everything out of your current case and putting it into this new one, you know? Like you'd have to be upgrading like motherboard, CPU, maybe RAM, but maybe keep the power supply and keep like storage drives. Maybe keep the cooler. I don't know. Yeah. I've passed down cases before, but that was because I needed a larger case for more drives. I mean, fair enough. I definitely like the cases that I have as server cases are cases of convenience. I already had both of them. I did for the for Overkill. I did buy some of the hard drive um, cages to put in the Vantex N3 Evolve X because I only had enough for like what was it 4 drives and I wanted 6, so I've got at least 6, if not 8 drive slots in there. Can't remember. Um, but yeah. I got the Y70 so I could stand up my Strix 4090. I'm in fair. I'm sure that looks nice. Might even be good for the cooler, like temperatures. Yeah. I like working with new components, not dusty used ones. Ain't that a mood? Uh, I have a bad habit of leaving a lot of components out, so there are a lot of very dusty CPUs hanging around in here. Yeah. I'm quite looking forward to getting the PCBs for the new tool probably next week because I've been quite excited about this tool. I don't entirely know why, as in, like, it's not as momentous, I suppose, as the response time tool, but I, I, I'm really quite excited to have it done. Um, even just for myself. Um, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's also kind of been interesting how smooth the process of building it has been thus far, because this is, the third actual like ready to go tool that I've made, or technically the sixth if you include each version of the response time tool, and arguably seventh because of the expert that I haven't finished yet. So I'm getting quite good at making these somewhat efficiently. Um, so yeah, it's quite fun to see that sort of that skill flourish. Kind of, yeah. Especially because this one is using the same microcontroller that the latency tool does. Like for the PCB design, it's just straight copy over for the microcontroller stuff, and then like the circuitry um, is very much like relatively simple in the grand scheme of things. I've got a current and voltage monitor chip that's all digital, so you just hook up shunt resistor and that's about it. I have a 10-volt regulator that's hooked up as the data sheet says. I have a motor driver chip that's hooked up as the data sheet says, and I have a op amp to handle the force sensor as some of the various data sheets for those sorts of force sensors say. And that's kind of it. So the PCB is going to be tiny, like it's going to fit in there, like in that little square. Like there's the two mounting holes there, and that's like it's going to be ridiculously small. um so yeah. Oh, I've had my hive ripped out and a wired thermostat put in. Never got as far as buying the Zigbee dongle. Fair enough. um I know that it does work because I set out for a friend, and it's still working now. But I don't blame you. So yeah, fair enough. Um, but yeah. Anyway, I think I'm gonna head off. I'm gonna go have a actually get the other print off the printer, and have a play. So I will catch you all next week. Hope you stay safe. Hope you all have fun. Um, Video tomorrow and a video essay on Monday, I think, if I remember rightly. And then you'll see me again for the stream next week. So yeah, have a good week. Catch you guys there.